And here. All right, this meeting has been given public notice in accordance with section 19.83 and 19.84 Wisconsin statutes in such form that will apprise the general public and news media of subject matter that is intended for consideration and action. Roll call shows all trustees present, along with both chiefs and Amy. We will now go to citizen input. Please be advised per 19.84 Parents 2 that information and comment will be received from the public. It is the policy of this municipality that public input be limited to a 4-minute period per person with a time extension granted at the discretion of the chairperson. Be advised that there may be limited discussion of the information received, but no action will be taken under public comments. Comments that may be injurious to village personnel or other individuals will not be allowed. Is there anyone wishing to come forward for public comment? Yes. Can you hit the button, please?
Harder. Would be harder.
Yeah, you got, oh,
You're the right button, but.
Okay. Wyatt Weir, North 103, West 16850, Wild Rose Lane. Last public service meeting, well, you had your public service and I got up at the village board meeting and I kind of ripped into the fire department for their proposal for the new fire station. I was able to get a actual tour of the fire station thanks to Chief Delane. And I want to publicly apologize for some of the comments I made. That station was built years ago, and I got to say shame on the trustees who built it. They did not take into consideration actual size that was required. I toured the so-called 11 beds in a kitchen. Those bedrooms were smaller than my kids' college dorm. You can't get 2 people in there. They definitely need some space, more bathrooms, and shower facilities for more people than now they've got a full-time department. It definitely needs some work on windows and everything else. It was, they were dealt a hand that it's a mess over there. Beautiful outside, but the inside really needs some work. So again, I'm sorry for some of the comments I made. I had never seen the fire department before. It does need some work. So thank you.
thank you for coming forward. Is there anyone else who wishes to come forward for citizen comments? I did receive one email. It says, hello, if the board approves the remodeling of the firehouse, how long will this last before the fire department comes forward again asking for another firehouse? Also, if and when the remodeling is done, will fire department keep ongoing inspection on the upgrades that are done, have the repairs done as needed, or wait until it falls apart again? Did this board and/or the fire department ever think of doing a combined fire department with another community or maybe a county-wide fire department, since dispatch is now at Washington County? Example, all over the news channel about Tosa and West Dallas talking about doing a combined department. We need to think of ways of saving money for the taxpayers instead of asking for more tax money from the taxpayers all the time. The Schneiders. One more call. Anyone wishing to come forward for citizen comment? No? Okay, I do want to just make one announcement, just a reminder that the fire department is having an open house at Fire Station 2 on Edison Drive during National Fire Safety Week, which is Thursday, October 16th from 5:30 to 8 p.m. So anyone else who wants to see the fire department and the shape it's in is welcome to go during that time and see it. All right, first we have meeting minutes.
Motion to approve meeting minutes from August 18th. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. and 1 abstain. Oh, that's the only one on.
We already put this motion through. Attorney Sajak, what, do I just need to dismiss that motion completely and make a new one for August 4th? Because I said August 18th. I made a motion to approve the meeting minutes for August 18th, but it was really August 4th. The motion went through vote.
They were out of
Appropriate action. Done to approve.
Okay. I make a motion to approve really the August 4th meeting minutes, not the 18th. Second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And 1 abstain. We'll move on to reports. The police monthly report.
I attached the July monthly report, comparison to last year. The reports that we're doing are up, 362, this July. Last year's 261, was up 101 reports. The arrests are up by 33 from this year to last year. The crashes are also up from last year to this year. We're seeing a lot more reports generated from self-initiated activity. That's why the cases are more than actually the call volume, because the cases that they're doing are taking more time based on the reports and everything, get them to the DA's office. A lot of felony and misdemeanor arrests are coming out of the traffic stops, drug and alcohol arrests. Other than that, some training in there. And there's one attaboy at the end for 2 officers.
Any questions for the chief? No? Okay, then we will go on to the fire department monthly report.
What I have in front of you is our new monthly report. In this report is every category of data that this software provides to us. I understand this is a lot of data, but I wanted to take this opportunity to hear back from this board, either via email or in person, what they would actually like to see with all this data that we are able to provide now. There is no comparable yet to last year. Like I said, this is brand new stuff, but it does give you just what the month of August was like in the fire department.
Sorry, trustee Peeper?
Could you explain the very first, or should I say second page, the colors with the numbers? There's orange circles and green circles.
This map.
Yep, I just don't see a legend.
So that is areas of the village kind of blown up that the calls are happening in.
These are fires or
Just total calls.
okay,
It's not broken out by EMS or fire. It's just,
Okay.
those are the areas. It's a heat map of where those calls are happening.
said seen locations of fire incidents. So that's why I was like, we had that many fires?
So the fire incident is anything that we do what's called a NIFRS report for, which is every call that we go on,
Gotcha.
which is what is used to report to the federal government on how many calls we have.
Okay.
Further down in the map or in the page, in fact, it's on page 7. You'll see something, a bar graph that's red. That breaks it down further into the zones of the village on where those calls are actually happening. The dividing point is Freistadt and Division. That's the exact center. And then the coordinates after there, and then the senior living facilities.
Trustee Baum?
Looking at that map, you got 56 over Mequon Road. What does that mean? 50, what happened 56 times on Mequon Road?
56 times on Mequon Road, it could be anything from a fire call to an ambulance call. It doesn't break them out that way on this map yet.
It's something that happened along Mequon Road somewhere.
It is something that happened at this zoom level. If I were to drill down further, you would see it more individualized.
I think this needs time to go through because we are getting this
Mhm.
5 minutes ago, so I don't want to take this entire meeting to go through it and digest it.
Nope, and I completely understand that. Like I said, this is our new software. So this is what I got to get it working. So I had something for you tonight, not like I had the last 2 months.
So we can go over it during the next few days and email you. Is the appropriate way to get?
Please do.
Okay.
Is there a map of the zones? The southeast, southwest, northwest, northeast?
I do not have one included in this packet, but I can absolutely create one.
Okay.
Chief Delane, if you could maybe give an overview of call volume and difference last month to this August month, just so that they can look at that going
I
forward.
don't have the last month in here.
Oh,
Like I said, this was really
Okay.
figuring this out to get something here this evening.
apologies.
I think this looks like a lot of really great information. I'm with trustee Baum. I would like to really look through this.
Trustee Borst, did you have anything?
Yep, I think I'd like the time to look through it too. It looks like a lot of great information is here. It just takes a little bit to digest and read through.
Basically, what I can see in here is your incidents are mainly still between 7 AM and 7 PM, which is page 32. If I read this diagram correctly, that's where most of your incidents occur.
That is correct.
That is historically what I recall from the
Yes.
past version is, yeah, thank you.
Are there any other questions for the chief? Right, then we'll move on to overtime report.
Overtime is kind of going down a little bit based the summer months are coming to an end through August. I did a comparison from last year to this year. Overtime is obviously up this year due to the shortages that we've had. The sergeant's overtime is a little up, considering that we had 4 supervisors out on FMLA this year due to having children. But as far as the officers, it's because of all the vacant shifts of how many we were short this year. That's kind of getting better now with we're getting back up to staffing. And we have 4 officers in recruit school right now. They're 4 weeks into it. They're going to be graduating the first week of December. And then they're going to be going through 16 weeks of field training. So probably March or April, they'll be off and on their own.
Okay, thank you. Chief Delane?
1 second here. Okay, fire department overtime for this last period was 297 hours, which is the second lowest of the year so far. Same period last year was at 410. So we have brought it back down. For last year, as of this time, we had 4,471 hours of overtime. So far this year, we have had 3,430.
No questions, then we'll move on to policy updates.
None for the police department.
Nothing for fire.
Okay. Then there is no unfinished business, so we will move on to new business. Item A, application for transfer of combination Class A fermented malt beverage and intoxicating liquor license for Quick Trip.
Motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None, motion carries. We'll move on to new business item B, School Resource Officer Memo of Understanding for July 2025 through June of 2027, and this is an action item.
I'll just go over it briefly. Every 2 years, we go back to the school district and have to go through the contract, see if there's any changes we want to make. Some of the major changes that we made, I talked with the school board president and we discussed it. And based on the numbers that we had from last year and that they had, we kind of tentatively agreed to a 65% school district to a 35% village for the next 2 years. We will discuss it after this year to see if it's more for the school district to pay or more for the village to pay, based on the hours that the SROs are working at the schools. I did have our payroll department give an estimate as far as the amount of income that the school district actually will be paying this year will be about $22,000 for the village between the two SROs.
Trustee Baum?
How does that compare to last year?
That's my question.
It was 50-50 last year, so 50% of the wage, so 22,000. Yes.
And did you speak to anybody at the school district or school board?
The school board president, we met.
You
and
did.
Discussed it. He had their numbers from that they produced and I had our numbers that our SROs keep track of every week and monthly. So we had a discussion on it and we came to a fair agreement on 65-35.
So they're okay with this?
Well, you have to have our board pass it
Yeah,
and then it
yeah.
goes to the school board and they'll vote on it.
Sure. I like the fact that you got with the school board president though and put real life data and facts together. I like this. It's discussion, is this
It's an
action?
action item.
Motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None, motion carries. We move on to new business item C, noise ordinance issues, discussion.
So this evening, there's two issues related to the village's noise ordinance that we've been asked to look at and just bring it to the committee basically for discussion to see what the committee would choose to do. The first is a relatively recent issue. We've had a resident, or at least a resident, I don't know if there's more than one or not, but a resident called and had indicated that their neighbor was out mowing their lawn at 6 a.m. and that was obviously a little excessive and disturbing them and wondering what, if anything, could be done. As we note in the memo that's in the packet, for residential purposes, the use of outdoor lawn equipment is allowed starting at 6 a.m. On each day. I'll tell you what, there wasn't a whole lot of thought that went into it when we drafted the noise code. We just basically copied what was existing at the time. I will tell you that in general, most communities do have a more lenient provisions for homeowners themselves to do those types of things because typically it's you mow your lawn once a week typically, and overall it's not super disturbing in most cases. And so that's the way we drafted it. We do have other instances, other outdoor power equipment, for example, on a commercial scale, that we start that on 7 on weekdays and 8 a.m. on weekends. We could certainly look at changing the code if the committee wanted to propose that. and change that really to any number that you want. As I say, there wasn't a rhyme or reason that went behind it other than that's just kind of what was in the existing code at the time for those types of uses. The second issue was really looked at the request of President Soderberg when he got elected. Indicated that he, in fairness, did not agree with my conclusion that the subjective kind of reasonableness standard for noise should be the appropriate standard, and that his belief is that we should have moved to a more objective standard, a decibel limit, for example, that would be there. But he asked me to kind of take a look at the issue and provide some additional information. And we decided that once I had that information, we would present it to the committee for the committee to decide what they decided to do. So we undertook that and did two steps. The first was that we did kind of a survey of similarly sized communities across the state, added into that some communities that are a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller, and in particular trying to make sure that we hit all of the communities here within Washington County for sure. And then as I say, just trying to get a pretty good representative sample of ordinances that are out there. The data is within the report that we have as well. In the case of the 43 that we surveyed, 30 of them have a subjective standard that is kind of how they determine whether or not there's a violation. 8 have a fixed objective standard for all noises, and then 4 have what we've called a mixed standard, where they have reasonableness for some noises and fixed standards for others. In a way, that's kind of what we have. Our zoning code does have certain noise provisions that do have decibel limits as it relates to manufacturing facilities. The idea there being that we're trying to avoid if you had a press, that was pounding, constantly day in and day out, that we would look at those types of noises as part of that. There was one that didn't have any noise ordinance at all, which we thought was kind of interesting. Again, tried to pick communities that were of similar sizes. So it was surprising that somebody didn't have that. With that said, every community here in Washington County uses a reasonableness standard or the subjective standard in terms of what's there. Then went on to kind of do the deep dive on what I had kind of suggested to all of you as part of the process when we went through it, which is that change from the previous kind of standard for testimony when we dealt with quote unquote expert type witnesses, and how that maybe changed a little bit after the what we call the Daubert standard was adopted. And that provision really just kind of goes through where we're at. The issue is, as I've indicated, that at the end of the day, unlike some other kind of day in, day out types of, equipment that might be used, radar devices, x-rays, photographs that the courts have kind of blessed and said, yep, no, you don't need to worry about, presenting the data. We're comfortable with the science and the equipment and how you test it and how you certify it and all of those kinds of concerns, such that you don't need to bring an expert to come in and testify to all of those things. While we think that certainly there's an argument that could be made that the same should apply for a decibel meter. And I think we'd probably be successful in that based on some of the case law that we found to get the courts to say, you don't need to bring in the sound expert to come in and testify, what sound waves look like and how decibel meters work and all of that kind of stuff. But what it doesn't change is that even under the Daubert standard, you still need to be able to testify to lay a foundation as to the witness's credibility and ability to utilize the equipment. And so what I mean by that is that the officer, if it's a police officer or if it's Jeff in planning, doing the enforcement, whoever's tasked with doing the enforcement has to be able to testify that here's the machine that I have, here's how I certified it, here's how I know that it's accurate, and go through all of the things that the officers do otherwise when they testify in court using radar, for example. They have to be able to testify, that they tested it before their shift, that they, how they tested it, make sure that, it was not kicking off any error readings or anything like that. The radar machines are certified on a regular basis. Our intoximeter machines are certified on a regular basis. And so it just becomes an additional level of kind of administrative stuff that the police department or the village would have to undertake to make sure that we're able to utilize a decibel meter if we wanted to use it for evidentiary purposes. And so that kind of falls back on, I know Chief, when we were going through this the first time, it kind of indicated to me that, he didn't personally really want to have his officers spending their training time going out and kind of getting certified, if you will, on these devices and figuring out how to use them and that kind of stuff. But certainly we could. There's a little bit of risk. As I say, the court may say, nope, even with all of that, you still need an expert to come in and do that. But I think we overcome that hurdle, but there's still that administrative kind of hassle that's a result of those types of things. Lastly, doesn't come out real clear in the memo that my associate did with respect to this. But the other issue that we have when we deal with fixed decibel levels is, how do you deal with the fact that sound at the end of the day is an environmental concern? That, depending on the weather, net noise is going to carry farther or not as far, depending on, again, the weather. It's going to, you need to be able to establish, what the appropriate measuring point is. Is it a property line? Is it within the neighboring structure? Is it, whatever the case may be? There's lots of details that we would need to hammer out if we were going to adopt a decibel standard. Is it a standard that's just a fixed, if you go over 60 decibels, for example, that's a violation? Or do you have it that it's, 10 decibels over the underlying background noise that's there? Different options that exist in terms of how you go about enforcing it, going to have different reactions from the neighbor as well. That if you're doing a 10 decibels over the existing kind of baseline level, that may still be annoying when it's 9 over the decibel limit to the neighbor. But you're not able to do anything because you have the fixed thing. Whereas if you have a reasonable standard, the officer may come out and say, you know what, this is just, kind of ridiculous. Turn it down and deal with it. So, with respect to that, again, our recommendation continues to be that the reasonableness standard is the appropriate method of regulating noise. But if the committee wants us to take a crack at proposing some, fixed standard or objective standard that we want to look at, happy to do that. Would just look maybe for a little bit of guidance, at least on the baseline question of, do you want it to be just a fixed number, or do we want to look at maybe some, above the baseline kind of background noise level? So.
Okay, well, I'd like to just do each issue separately. So I think we should start with the lawn cutting and those times. Trustee Baum?
Might I start with a more broader question? Chief, how many complaints do we get?
Yeah, that's what else now.
Are we talking thousands of complaints? Are we talking 10 or 12? What's the magnitude of this issue?
It just depends. Summers are probably worse because the bands, some have outdoor bands and music. The winter months, it's not that bad.
Regarding specifically lawn cutting though.
Oh, lawn cutting?
Well, you can get
Well,
that
because
specific.
he said that's what spurred this.
Yeah, we get a couple a year on it. And it's basically they're within ordinance because they're after 6 and people are upset because they're starting before 6. In the winter, we get them occasionally with snow removal. They're having snow removed out of their driveway and they're waking them up at 2 a.m. in the morning. Well, that's allowed by ordinance, so it's not, I want to say a lot. Probably under a dozen, maybe a handful.
Is there a way we can get specific data on that? Over the last 2 years, how many people have called
Noise complaints?
for mowing lawns too early?
I'd have to go through every noise complaint that we got. And
There's no way that the software program can filter through that?
no, because it's just
Noise complaint.
listed as a noise complaint.
And how many would you say are related to like festivals? And then like, bars playing music? Do you have an idea?
It's majority of the bars,
Okay.
probably. The festival, I mean, when it is like Oktoberfest or something, we'll get one, but they're allowed to. So it's only when the festival's happening, but the bars are during the summer months when they have outdoor entertainment.
Right.
Over the years, I've gotten the festival complaints, the park complaints. We're not allowed to do anything that's noisy because somebody's going to complain about it. So that's why I'm trying to get a magnitude of, on 4th of July, the park is noisy. When somebody actually calls and complains about that or emails me that they're complaining about that, I'll have a discussion with them. That this is one day of the week. We got fireworks going off. You gotta let it go. I had one about Bella Kane the other night. They're too loud. I am so far away, but I can still hear them. It's one night, but you gotta talk those people down. Over the years, I've experienced probably every bar in this community that's got a complaint against it somehow, some way. And the neighbors have usually worked those issues out amongst themselves. And they've come to terms with what is acceptable between them. That's what we've come across with Dot's Barrel Room the last time, is the residents agreed that this is what's gonna happen. What's the Beer Stuba? They have gone back and forth with the neighbor every year. New management, new rules, new way of doing things, they've come to terms. So I don't wanna be doing all this extra effort for a few calls that aren't really necessary. So I'm open to leaving it as is.
Trustee Peeper?
For the sake of data, would you be able to pull all the noise complaints that we've had for the past 2 years and categorize them, kind of like John did of rescue calls? Like this one was about outdoor venue, this one was about lawnmowers, this one was about snow blowers. Is that possible or no?
It would be all manual work. We can pull the complaints for noise as far as bars go, because we can pop up the addresses and punch all the noise complaints for this address in the last 2 years and pull those numbers for noise complaints.
So could
And
we,
then we'd have to just go and through and just see if it was for loud music or what the reason was. People
y-
talking loud outside.
so it's easy to pull usually all the bar noise complaints out. Like it's pretty easy to do that.
We can do it.
So if you pull
Is it
all the
easy
noise
pushing a
complaints
button?
and
No.
then siphon the bar complaints, and then we would have the rest, right? Or no? I'm just trying to think of an easy way to do it. But for issue number 1 with the lawnmower, I'd have to see specific examples of how many calls, how many times this is happening before I would approve a change. For the second one, or wait, was the first one?
Sure.
I was right,
Yeah.
okay. Second one, I think it's a waste of money and a waste of time to train all of your officers on decibel readings and then be expert witnesses and provide testimony in court cases when we still know that a decibel reader is still not 100% accurate. On top of that, we are in the majority of municipalities where it's subjective, not objective. 100% of Washington County is subjective. I do not propose any change in that one.
Trustee Borst?
With the lawnmower incident or with like snow blower incidents, what is typically the outcome when you go to those calls? Is it, are they still disgruntled after hearing about the current, 6 AM to 10 PM, I believe it was?
I don't think they're happy, but
Right.
it's the fact of life. It's the ordinance. They have the right to cut their grass or clean their driveways.
And are they advised to talk to their neighbor to maybe come to some sort of, agreement?
They can
Or-
talk to them, but most of these are contractors that come in with snow plowing and there's a set schedule
Yep.
of these residences, so that's most likely. And that's usually what it is the contractors coming in to clean people's driveways.
Mhm. Okay.
Chief Delane?
I spent a lot of years as a sound engineer, believe it or not, working for concerts and things along those lines. And Jolene, you know that.
I do remember that.
The decibel readings are very, very complicated because it takes into account air pressures, atmospheric pressures, wind speeds, temperature, and just obstacles in the way. For those of you who live in the immediate Germantown area, think of a football game on a Friday night. And even when you can hear the football game, half the time it goes away halfway between it. And then an hour later, maybe you'll hear part of it again. In decibels, which is a measure of pressure, is actually quite a complicated formula to actually figure out to get to the right answer. It's like 10 times the logarithm to the 10th power multiplied by electricity and amplitudes. So it is a very, very, very complicated thing, and there's a lot of things that go into play with it.
Do you look that up? Is it sitting in front of you?
It actually is. I knew there was part of it, was the logarithm part of it and the power and amplitude. I couldn't remember what the first part was, but yes, it is.
He's a sound guy. Come on.
Right.
Right, as far as the first one, my opinion, I guess, would be if anything, to change it just to be in line with the other 7 AM and 8 on weekends, if we did anything with that. And as far as the subjective to objective, I guess I'd have to have more information first, like what would the cost be to the village police department for equipment, for training, because you'd almost have to have all the officers trained because you never know who's working and you can't call people in specifically, take them off something else just to go for a noise complaint. So I think it would get rather complicated.
We need a motion?
Did you have something, Chief?
I'd have to check on the training on it and what we would all need.
Right, that's what I'm not expecting you to know it right now. I'm just saying that I think we would need to know that because, I mean, what would the cost be to the village to even do something like that? So I'm inclined to keep it the way it is.
Yep, I agree.
You got what you need?
I do.
Okay, no. Our next meeting will be October 6th at 6 PM in this room, and the meeting is adjourned.
6. Wonder if I have time to go run and get my kids food.
Yep.
I think I could.
I mean, look at this thing.
We've been looking at this every year since I've been on board, every single year.
Hey, stranger.
Hey, you.
It is over, but it's not.
No, it is. I almost called you this weekend to see if you were home. I needed
No,
some horse
okay.
therapy and I'm like, I wonder if Jerry would just let me come over there.
All weekend and get my face entirely bitten up.
Oh, me?
I had a hoodie on, like walking the dog. One went up my nose. I